Thank you very much, Linus. I didn't know when Linus talked of the business sector getting interested in politics, that he was going to start the practice right here. Tonight is a night of celebration. And I believe yesterday we spent the whole day. We went through the speeches, we went through everything that had to be said. And as you can see today, I don't have my iPad because I didn't want to embarrass Linus again. So he's forced me to write some things on the back of the menu. And as part of that celebration, let me start by saying a special appreciation to the two gentlemen who sat together and came up with this vision. And we'll continue talking about them until somebody comes with a better initiative, Josephat and Linus. And they've been added to that list, Dauda, and I'm sure there'll be many others who will be coming on to join them to make sure that we can continue the culture of identifying, recognizing, nurturing, and encouraging as many of the Kenyan business community to move one notch higher. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate again all those among you who decided that it was a good move to open up your books, to open up what you do, to open up to competition, and to be daring enough to say you would want to participate in this initiative. Because it's only by creating that participation, it's only by creating that competition that we are able to set some standards. Because if nobody turned up and there was only two, like at some point we used to do as the Institute of Accountants, and we used to have these financial reporting awards, which I believe is happening tonight. And we would encourage different categories. And I think at one point, there was only one municipal council that used to submit its accounts. And they would always win. Until we said, surely, we need competition. So by actually agreeing to be part of this, I'm very happy that we are now moving and the numbers are growing by the day. I believe tonight, all the 100 companies that we'll be recognizing here are winners. And you're winners because, first of all, you beat another 200 plus who went through this process with you. And two, because like we said yesterday and it's been said before, by being recognized as a Club 100 company, there are some benefits that come with it. There's some recognition. There is that club meetings within that support that comes with knowing that there's somebody else you can call. There's somebody watching you to nurture you and make sure that you move forward. But more importantly, being in this executive club comes with some measure of responsibility. And I think you listen to Linus talking about his prayers. He wasn't exactly praying for you. He was basically telling you, this is what we all expect of you. Especially on the last prayer. About each one of you becoming the shining example on the payment of taxes, which is basically a sharing of your revenue with the facilitator who facilitates you by creating that conducive environment, which is the Kenyan people, not the government. It's the Kenyan people. The taxes belong to the Kenyan people. They're your market. They elect the leaders who help you in creating that conducive environment for you to do business, whether you agree with me or not. And then you pay on a 30-70, not 50-50. Remember, it was a time there was 65-35. We moved now to 30-70. You keep 70% and the people keep 30%. And it's an issue I'm very passionate about. Because if you look at where we're coming from, in 2006, as I stood on the podium in Parliament, on the dispatch box, and I read the budget for the year 2006-2007, I looked at the numbers and I declared at that point that as a country, we were financing 95% of our expenditure from taxes paid by the Kenyan people, and only relying 5% on grants that we were receiving. And it sent a message across the rest of the world. When the president went for the Africa peer review meeting, all the other African heads of states were asking, how is Kenya managing that? And it was because the people of Kenya had agreed that it was their duty to pay the taxes and then to ask for how those taxes were being utilized. We continued with the theme, and you recall even at that point, I did even ask the members of parliament to join in. In 2007, being an election year, I decided I wasn't going to push that line. In 2008, we were blessed in Parliament with 70% of the members being new. And I'd listened, and all their campaigns, they kept on saying, when we go to Parliament, I'll even surrender some of my salary to my constituents. I'll make sure we pay taxes. I do all that. So I picked a cue from there, and I said, from now on, all members of Parliament, our constitutional office holders, will start paying taxes. You know what happened after that? There was total ganging up against me. But I'm happy that the Kenyan people listened. And in the final draft of the new constitution, it was made, it will be not an issue to be negotiated through legislation. The people of Kenya decided everyone must pay their taxes. And now people are paying their taxes. So I'm very happy that the dream we had of actually moving beyond the 95% of the expenditure being financed from our taxes will one day be achieved. And that will be achieved when we start getting role models from the Club 100 saying they want to be tax compliant. And never be cheated by anyone who tells you, let's manage our taxes so you don't pay as much as you should. You're better off working out your figures, taking already into consideration that 30% will be gone. A certain percent will go as dividends, and the rest is what is yours. And that way you never feel as if the taxman is taking away anything from you. Like I said, being part of Club 100, their benefits and their responsibilities. And we want to see you because after celebration tonight, we'll be watching you. We talked yesterday, and Josphat talked about Steve Jobs and what he did. We talked about all these other companies and what they've done. We'd like to see the students joining school, be it at the secondary level, be it at the university, being inspired by what's happening with one of the chief executives, with one of the staff members of one of the Club 100 companies. We want to see adverts saying, when I grow up, I want to work for this company, which is a member of the Club 100. So you got that responsibility to become the role models for our growing youth. You got the responsibility for being the role model for that kiosk setting up in your neighborhood. We want to see that entrepreneur who's putting up a little bits of pieces and starting a kiosk, saying that one day I want to grow my kiosk to become like this company. We want you to be the role model for the other 300 companies or the other 200 companies that did not make it. And more importantly, for those who are not even daring enough to submit to the test of whether they should be admitted to the club or not. And more importantly, because in the longer term, apart from the 8 who have graduated, we would like to see all of you graduating the Club 101 Plus, is to become the role model for the bigger companies within our region, for the bigger companies outside our region. Ladies and gentlemen, I said most of the things I wanted to say yesterday, and I want to be part of the celebration. Never mind the fact that I forgot my bow tie. But last time, you remember when I wore it, I think somebody came and told me, Mzee, nataka Tusker. So I was a bit careful today, because if he could confuse me then, and I was a bit bulky. Now with the weight loss that I've done so painfully, I'm more likely to be confused today, so I decided to play safe and let Trasport and Liners be the ones to be requested to serve the Tusker. But it's good time for celebration. And as I conclude these remarks, I really want to say that participating in Club 100 is just the beginning of the process. Don't get complacent. Let us start thinking of the bigger picture. Yesterday, we mentioned as a government, our planning platform, our reference point is our National Vision 2030. And you know what that entails. It has 3 pillars, for those of you who are not quite familiar with the Vision 2030. There's an economic pillar. Basically says that this country needs to grow economically in terms of economic growth. And we need to crank it up to about 10% per year for the next so many years to achieve the per capita GDP that is consistent with middle-income countries. There's a social pillar that basically says the dream of this country is to have a country that has social equity, where we have social safety nets for those people who cannot participate meaningfully within the economic pillar, with investments in health, with investments in education, with investment in environmental protection, so that we can live in a socially acceptable and environmentally sound situation. And the third one is the political pillar, which aims at moving the politics of this country from the things we saw in 2007, 2008, even before. And that came after we already had the vision. We're moving this country from politics that are driven based on the individual personalities to politics that are based on issues. People-centered, democracy. And we took the first step as Kenyans last year by getting the new constitution that is Vision 2030 compliant, that sets up the stage for sorting out our politics and the structures that are required to ensure that politics moves from being leader-centered to being people-centered. So again, there's those 3 pillars. I want to link that with the 5th prayer by Linus, that as corporates, you have a responsibility to ensure you can participate certainly in terms of cranking up the economic growth so that we can see our percentage is moving from the 4.1 to 10%, which is what we require if we are going to achieve Vision 2030. Certainly through your CSR programs, through ensuring that the social harmony is ensured by support to factors, that affect your workers, affect your environment, and we can move on together, bridging the gap between those who have and those who do not have. 76% of the population in this country is below 35 years. That's a challenge we have. And if we do not take them on board through social safety nets, through social interventions, through improving on the economic growth, we are going to see turmoil in future, and the environment for you to do business will not be as certain as it is now. Let us invest in averting that eventuality, as any disaster management consultant will tell you. And in looking at the big picture, let us ask ourselves once again, where will you be in 5 years' time as a company? Where will you be in 10 years' time? Where will you be by the year 2030? Will you be playing as a subcontractor to your colleagues who you are with now? Or will you be the main operator within East Africa? By the time we move Club 100 to the East Africa Club 100, how many of you Kenyan companies will be on that list? And I think that's what we need to start thinking, that yes, being recognized today is only the first step, but we should be aiming at moving up there and saying, I want by the year 2030, whether you as the owner manager, the owner founder, the entrepreneur, you want to see that that company will outlive you and be there by the year 2030 to be that great company that we all would like to see and support into the future. So let us think big, let us think where we fit in, and let us keep challenging all our leaders, be it in industry, be it in our trade associations, be it in politics, to be more accountable to us, to take us where we all want to be. Now, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, today was a day of celebrations. It's a day that we want to sit back and appreciate those who have made it this far. And I want to end my remarks at that point and thank you all for inviting me yesterday, today, in 209 for 2 days. And I do hope that I'm counting, there's a gap of 2 years, that come 2013, we'll once again be together to see how many of you will be repeat performers or how many of you would have graduated to the 101 class. And if I'm not in politics, I can assure you I'll be wanting to be competing with you and hope with all the inside information I have, that I'll have beaten all of you. So have a good evening and God bless you all.